let's get into it because there's a lot to talk about in terms of Ange Postecoglou. And look, we're still in limbo. We don't know if he's going to be here next season or not. We've seen Cuti Romero come out with quotes suggesting that potentially he wants him to stay and his future's potentially aligned with the manager. We'll start with you, Alex. What's your feeling on the manager? Where do you sit with it? And do you want him here or not?
Well, yeah, I'm still unchanged, unlike some other people that I have seen change. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter flip-flopping, people who have been Ange out just as much as I have, and it's very disappointing to see them flip-flopping, but I do understand it as well. I do. The emotions are getting over some people, and it's a very emotional and very memorable moment for us Spurs fans right now. We've not won, that was our first trophy in 17 years, first European trophy in 40 years. So, of course, some people are going to change their views on things because it's a very sentimental moment and it's going to take over some people. But for me, I'm unchanged, and I still want this man gone, and now is the right time. It's a perfect time right now for the manager to move on, and both parties to make way. And I'm waffling a little bit, but let me what I'm trying to say is it's a great time for him to go. He's just won a trophy. I don't think he can't win anything better than this for Tottenham. I don't think he'll win us a Premier League. I don't think he'll win us a Champions League. So, for me, in my opinion, his work here is done, and it would make a lot of sense for him to leave now, and for us to get someone else better in this season, who I think would take us into a lot better stead in the Premier League next season, because I don't think Ange is a Premier League manager, and I really fear for this football club having Ange in charge in the Champions League next season, come up against the likes of City, Barcelona, Bayern, Madrid. These teams would slap us up under the way that Ange is playing. But what I will say is he has actually changed his ways in the last 2 or 3 knockout games. The Frankfurt one, the Bordeaux one, and then the final. We didn't really play with any inverted wing backs. We didn't play with a high line. So he has shown that he can change the way he plays, which is so nice to see, but also at the same time frustrating, because why could he have not been able to do that in the Premier League? We would not be where we are right now in the Premier League if he was able to, if he changed it up during then. We wouldn't be sitting 17th with 22 Premier League defeats, which in my opinion is absolutely disgusting to see my football club down there. So if he is willing to change the way he plays, and we do stick with him for next season, and he doesn't go back to that suicidal football, then I might be able to get back. But I might be able to get behind him. But right now, I don't really see a future under this manager, and I wouldn't like to see him spend any more money at this club as well. He's spent 400 million, and a lot of it has been on kids as well. So there's a big decision for the club to make in these next coming weeks, but it needs to be made very, very soon. I've heard that Andrew's gone on holiday now too, so nothing will be getting done until he gets back. But before the pre-season starts, we need to know as fans if we're going to go into next season with Ange or someone else like Oliver Glasner. For me, is top of my list right now. I would like to bring him in and bring Walton and Eze along with him. But that's how I stand on things right now, boys.
Sava, first and foremost, how did winning the Europa League under Ange Postecoglou make you feel?
Relieved. Happy but relieved. Moving on from Alex's sentiment, relieved after the season this man has had. This was absolutely shit or bust. If he hadn't have won that, he would have gone down as the worst manager to ever manage Tottenham Hotspur, and that's the fine line in football. And that's not my feelings. That's actually statistically and factually. I've just created a new word there. Correct. So I think he had to for him. He had to for us. I think it was so important for a number of reasons. I've seen loads of videos that say Sava doesn't want to win the Europa League. On the contrary, we had to win the Europa League because otherwise we would have been sitting in 17th in the league, no European football next year. The likes of Cuti Romero wouldn't even be a question. It would be, he's definitely leaving. The money wouldn't be there because of the way we know the club operates. There'd be no Champions League revenue. We'd be £37 million down in revenue from last season in Premier League prize money. So I think that it was a relief more than anything. I think it was the ultimate get out of jail free card. And what I'm seeing at the moment is look, for what it's worth, Ben and Sim, for what it's worth, I don't think he's leaving, right? I think everybody on this panel and everybody in your chat doesn't need me to sit here and say Ange out, Ange out, Ange out. You all know I don't rate the manager, right? Is that fair? You all know.
Fair. Yeah.
Right? Fair. You all know I don't rate him. However, I don't think he will go because of what happened Wednesday night. I lean to the side of what Alex said. For me, this is very much sentiment because of a cup run rather than his actual ability as a football manager. Now, I might eat my words on that next season. I might. Absolutely. But right now, you've got those that purely go, well, we just won a trophy. That's great. We did. But I've never, ever, 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 ever in my 40 years of supporting Tottenham seen us finish 17th. Yeah, conceding 65 goals. I've seen it once. We've conceded 66 once, which was in 92-93. So that was the first ever Premier League season. He's conceded 65 goals. That is utterly abysmal and tells me he can't set up a back four. Right? This is the most ever defeats this club has had in a 38-game season. We've lost 22 before, but that was in a 42-game season back in the 1970s when we got relegated. Right? This is the first time since 1935. Right? Since we've lost that many games. 1935, right? Mm-hmm. So all of that for me, this is where I am still Ange out. I don't need to sing it from the rooftops, but all of that for me isn't covered over by winning the Europa League when we were favourites anyway. Now, whether or not I thought we were going to win it at the beginning of the season is irrelevant. The bookies made us favourites, so we were in with a shout, right? That for me isn't enough. Just for me personally, I know everyone wants to go mad, and I'm not going mad here. That isn't enough for me to say, yeah, you're the manager I trust, because Alex just got it nail on the head. If he can adapt in the Europa League, sorry, I'm paraphrasing a bit, Alex here, so sorry if I'm adding any bits into my own. But if this manager can adapt in the Europa League away from his gung-ho, chaotic, awful football, which loses every week in the Premier League, if he can adapt to save his job, which is what he did in the Europa League, then I'm questioning the man's... I don't know. I'm questioning, why have you gone back? Every game in the Premier League this season, he reverts back to that chaotic, shambolic mess. I've got this real tug of war in my head, guys, of why? Like, you've seen we can defend when we don't play inverted fullbacks. You've seen we can defend when you actually have a double pivot in front of the back four instead of three midfielders going gung-ho. But yet we get to the Premier League and he just goes, go on, everyone, have 20 shots at our goal again. And that's, sorry for the rant, but this is what the worry for me, Ben, Sim, is what are we now? What's our identity, right? And what are we going to be going into the beginning of next season? What are we buying players for? Are we buying players for the chaotic, gung-ho football where everyone just dunks on us? Or are we buying players for the 10 men behind the ball, defending really well? That's how we got over the line in Europa League. So I'm a bit confused after 2 years as to what are we? I also acknowledge that I don't think he's going anywhere. So for me, what's more important now than the Ange in, Ange out chat? Everyone knows I don't want him here. Everyone knows if he gets sacked, I'll be happy. What's more important for me now is, what do we now do in the transfer window? And what I don't want to see, Ben, from people like you, and from you, Sim, I'm going to put you in there as well.
Come on.
And from all these other YouTubers, I don't want to see these videos in the summer of, this signing is perfect for Ange Ball. He completes. I don't want to see that, because none of you know what we are anymore. He abandoned.
I'll tell you
Ange
what we
Ball.
are, Sava. I'll tell you exactly
European
what we are.
champions.
We're European champions.
Yeah.
It's
Sure,
not boring, because it was less than a week ago that we won the final out in Bilbao.
Sure.
We are European champions. Puff
Sure,
your chest
yes.
out, Sava. Have a smile on your face, man.
Ben, sure. Listen, when we're going to do all that banter and all that stuff, brilliant. But everything I've just said there, guys, you can't deny that any of that is not true. Factually, everything I've just said there is true. So for me, what I need to see is that this manager isn't just going to manage properly when his job is on the line. I need to see him adapting weekly in the Premier League to the opposition we're playing. I don't think that's crazy. I don't think that's negative. I need to see him adapt. I don't know why that's looked at as though I'm some real big toxic negative guy. This is our worst ever Premier League season, chaps. Ever.
Agreed.
Lowest number of points, lowest league finish, most number of defeats. For me, that can't be swept under the carpet. So I'm asking you, let me throw it back to you, Ben and Tim. Tell me any of what I've just said there isn't true, and tell me that this manager doesn't need to adapt in the Premier League next year.
No, I agree. I agree with that.
Right.
I agree with that sentiment completely. But the way I look at it is I feel like you said correctly that he has adapted towards the end of the Europa League run in Frankfurt, in Bodo, in the final. So is that not telling us that after winning the cup final in Bilbao, he deserves the chance to show that he can adapt next season in the Premier League as well?
Sure. I mean, Ben, listen, this is the interesting point. And listen, and this is the argument. I know everyone thinks Stella and I agree with each other and everything, but honestly, if you see our WhatsApp chats, we really don't, do we still? We really go at each other, right? I get the whole he deserves to stay because of that. And that's fine. If he stays, he stays. We're just football fans. It's just opinions. He stays, right? But, Ben, there's a difference between adapting because your job is on the line. Let's be brutally honest. If he
his job will
hadn't
be on
won
the line
that,
at the start of next season as well.
Ben, sure. But the point is, we've seen this for 2 years that these tactics don't work in the Premier League. He should have adapted, right? For example, when we battered Man City, I thought, I think you've learned. A little bit of me was like, has he learned? Has he learned now that if you actually go to a back four that doesn't invert and don't go gung-ho, we're actually really good on the counter-attack and in transition. And then we went on a 10-game run where we didn't win a game because he went back to gung-ho, wide-open football. That's all I need to see from my point of view.
And had a 12-man injury crisis as well. But
you
can overlook that if you want.
Sim, we can go through that. But the problem is, Sim, when people talk about a 12-man injury crisis, this form under Ange has been 20 months long, right? In 20 months, he's lost 34 games in 66. So when people just say it's injuries, it's not just the injuries. This is what the form was like before the injuries, after the injuries, during the injuries. 34 in 66, Ben, right, is atrocious for any Tottenham manager, right? So for me, I've got to see that he can adapt when his job is not on the line. And now it's going to be interesting to see, what is he next year? What are we? Are we the gung-ho team that we went straight back to against Brighton, against Wolves, against Palace? Are we that team? Or are we this 10 men behind the ball team? Because I was told that fans didn't want the 10 men behind the ball. They won't put up with that for 38 Premier League games. So he's got to find a hybrid model for me of how to connect the defence and the attack.